Welcome. I bid you welcome, John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Metal Deck, coming to you from my music corner of the world. And I got to give a little shout out for this little solo episode to Sea of Tranquility. They recently did an episode on the Monday Night Hudson Valley Squares um, episode where they talked about their favorite releases from Metal Blade Records, um, started by Brian Slagle back in 1982 as a way of just trying to, he wanted to try and get some of these young up and coming bands that maybe were just a little off the beaten path as far as their style goes. Um, Brian's actually released two books. That was the first one that uh, that he released. The second one is this one. It's called For the Sake of Heaviness, The History of Metal Blade Records. Now, this is kind of a unique little packaging here. Um, you get this little kind of bookmark thing there, or kind of a page holder kind of thing. But this is the first book. For the Sake of Heaviness, named after a um, Armored Saint song. So there you go. Very fun book. Has a lot of great stories of a lot of the early Metal Blade bands and some later stuff. Um, this is Swing of the Blade. This was the second book. So this kind of touches on other just more stories. And I'm sure Brian Slagle has probably got a lot of those. Um, Highly recommended reading these. These are both very good books. Um, cool thing about this For the Sake of Heaviness book, this version also came with a cassette. Sorry for the glare there, but this little tape here, kind of a mixed tape of sorts. Kind of see what it looks like inside there. Um, some of the songs on here, um, it's just a mix of just stuff from the history, basically from Fate's Warning all the way up to Amon Amarth and Visigoth and 6 Feet Under, Cannibal Corpse, Guars, Kirith Ungol, Merciful Fate, King Diamond, Lizzie Borden, and one of the bands I'm going to be talking about here in just a few minutes. So, Metal Blade, where did it all start for them? Well, it started off with this little compilation album called Metal Massacre. No, this is not an original. This is a 40th anniversary repress. This featured basically all of the songs that would appear on the different pressings that would come out. So you have the Ron Keel led Steeler with a song called Cold Day in Hell. You have We have Miss Betsy Bitch, who was one of the very first um, releases on Metal Blade Records with the EP Damnation Alley, with a song called Live for the Whip. Malice with Captive of Light. They also have another song on here called Kick You Down. Um, Rat was originally on this on Metal Massacre with Tell the World, which you would see on the EP, the Rat EP. Um, Interesting who's in the band on this though. You had Robin Crosby and Warren DeMartini, and of course Stephen Pearcy on vocals. Bass guitar though, Matt Thorne, and drums was Kurt Mayer. So Juan Crocier had not been in the band yet, and neither was Bobby Blotzer. Band called Avatar rounds out side one with a song called Octave. Side two, Black and Blue. You remember those guys? Chains Around Heaven. They had a guitar player, he later on in life he got a little spaced out. So yeah, I don't think yeah. Keir Thungol, Tim Baker, Death of the Sun, Demon Flight with a song called Dead of the Night. Pandemonium, they were a rocking band, I think originally out of Alaska, uh, led by a trio of brothers. Pandemonium, Fighting Backwards, of course, the Malice, and then this other little Bay Area band called Metallica, with Hit the Lights. Now, I would first come into awareness of Metal Blade Records by a band that really changed how started listening to music. Um, and really started thinking, wow, this is really fast. This is really aggressive. Um, and while this wasn't the album that introduced me to them, Slayer was the band that really introduced me to what Metal Blade Records was all about. Um, my buddy Mike had I don't know if he borrowed it or he just got a hold of it. The live EP called Live Undead. And I first heard it when I was like, hmm, yeah, I don't know about this. This, I don't know, too fast, too, I don't know. I didn't know really what to make of it. But the more I listened to it, the more I'm like, yeah, this is worthy. This is really good. I was really digging it. Um, I would eventually come to find a this in the record stores. It was about 1985-ish, 1986, I think, when I first got this. And I'll tell you, this is a vinyl, velvet red marble vinyl repress. Uh, they've Slay or Metal Blades reissued this album a number of times because it's a very popular album. So and Brian Slagel and Slayer still have very much a good relationship, which is really cool. But yeah, Hell Awaits, probably my favorite Slayer album of all time still. Even though I kind of jumped off the Slayer train around Divine Intervention. Um, Rain and Blood to me just goes by too quickly. Um, it's okay. I like it. It's a good album, don't get me wrong, but I would much rather prefer the longer pieces of Hell Awaits. Um, I like South of Heaven. That was a good album. Seasons of the Abyss also was really good. Um, so but I want to talk. I'm going to share off some vinyls pressings here of just some other bands that maybe you just never heard of. Maybe you just need to look them up on YouTube and or find a copy on Discogs or somewhere that maybe you can track these albums down because they're pretty worthy albums. Um, this first one up is a band called Cities. Okay, with this album here called Annihilation Absolute. Now the the, the thing that really that got the band noticed here really was if you notice who's on the drum kit there. That would be AJ Perro, and he was in of course AJ Perro was the drummer for In Twisted Sister during their most classic lineup Under the Blade, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, Stay Hungry, and Come Out and Play albums. Um, he would leave the band, rejoin this band. They were formed in 1980 up in the Bronx, and kind of a power metal, little speedy, thrashy metal. Um, they just never really got a good. I don't think they just had any good identity. This is a really good album, though. I very much enjoy this. Burn Forever was my first kind of taste of the band. But Stop the Race, Still in the Night, Instant Victim. There's a lot of good stuff here. Good guitar playing. Um, Very power metally vocals. Nothing, kind of the samey kind of stuff that you kind of heard on a lot of different bands coming out at this time. But it's still a really good album. I always liked the album. I always thought it was a very good one. So I was very happy to find that on vinyl. It's very hard to find on CD. So if you can find it and get it, definitely worth your while. Next band I'm going to talk about is a band that came out of Chicago. They would then move to LA where they were recorded by Metal Blade, specifically by Bill Matoyer, who did a lot of the Metal Blade releases. Um, Band called Thrust with their album Fist Held High. Um, Here again, very much in the style like a thrashy power metal. Um, John Bonata's vocal style reminds me a lot of Tim Baker from Keir Thungle. Um, I don't think he has quite the range that Tim has, but it was still a fun album. There's a lot of good stuff going throughout here, but very anthemic. Um, Only one member of the band is still holding the banner high for thrust, as it were. And that would be Ron Cook. The rest of the band moved back to Chicago, and yeah, not much was really heard from them. They have put out a couple more albums. Ron has released at least three more albums over the years. They were kind of dormant from 1984 to about 2000 something with when Ron brought the band back for album called Reincarnation. So and they have two other albums on Pure Steel now. So check them out. It's another band that's worth looking into. I certainly wouldn't mind looking into those later Thrust albums to see what they sound like. So all right, next one. This is another band that there's basically only one original member carrying the torch. Um, Another kind of a thrashy power epic metal band. Um, Omen. This is a great band. I loved these guys when I first heard them. This is an album of theirs called The Curse. Uh, I thought I thought the singer JD Kimball had a great voice. I really enjoyed his range. Very gruff, but he could really sing it through well. Steve Wittig and Henry were a great rhythm section. Kenny Powell, great guitar player. Loved a lot of his lines. Very intricate kind of lines. Teeth of the Hydra was my introduction to the band on this album, and again, just a wonderful song. Again, I love the guitar line that he does in that. But The Curse, very atmospheric, great, just a great song. Kill on Sight, Holy Martyr, Eye of the Storm, Destiny, Bounty Hunter, great, great album. The Curse from Omen, lovely album. Love these guys. Um, they are, like I said, they are still around. They have put a couple out. They were kind of just broke up in 1989 for a while after they replaced JD Kimball with uh, Cody something. I can't think of his last name now. On an album called Escape to Nowhere. Took a little bit more of a commercial take. Unfortunately, after that, then the band broke up, and but Kenny would reconvene new members. As of 2017, there's a totally whole new band with him. But yeah, again, good albums to check out. Their the first album, Battle Cry and Warning of Danger. The second album, also very good. Highly recommended. Okay. Next one I'm going to talk about. This is another great album, another band out of Chicago. Trouble with some people, it's just self-titled. Some call this Psalm 9, but you have again a great album here. You have The Tempter, very doomy, very Sabbathy sounding. Victim of the Insane, another great song. Bastards Will Pay, Psalm 9, the epic. Um, Mixing a lot of spiritual lyrics in with this very heavy, doomy sound, which they would be known for. Um, you can't go wrong with Trouble. The Skull is another good album. Run for the Light. When they got signed to Def Jam, um, I think of songs like Psychotic Reaction. They would still be putting material out, and very good band. I loved Eric Wagner's voice. May he rest in peace. Bruce Wartel and or Bruce Franklin and Rick Wartel. They great guitar tone. Um, Again, great band. Another one that worth checking out. Now, this one gets a lot of flack for its ridiculous album cover, but I believe there was just as many bad album covers that I think were far worse than this one. But this one unfortunately it just wasn't going to get them anywhere. And I know in 2024 it probably wouldn't fly, but um, Predator. All right, let's get a good look at this thing. All right, sorry for this glare. And then there's the back of the album here. Um, okay, Predator, Easy Prey, one and done album. I'm gonna try and take this out of the when I found this copy on Discogs, it was actually still sealed. So this is a still sealed copy. Um, but I had this on cassette back in the day, and it's a good album. I really like this album. Features all songs written by a guy named Jeff Prentice, um, uh, Eddie Close, and Matt Johnson round out the studio band. A fellow named Kurt Dudley plays guitar, would play guitar for them live. Um, what is the sound? So Jeff bordered kind of on the lines of a lot of the shredding style that was coming out in the mid 80s. Um, you start really good guitar player, very, very good guitar player. Vocally, he kind of has a sound of kind of reminds me a little bit of like John Gallagher of Raven. Maybe there's probably a couple of other people that would come to mind. Very thrashy. Um, how can maybe again, I think maybe if really worked well, maybe they could have done another album or two. Um, Maybe again, not the most classic albums in the Metal Blade, at least for the right reasons. Again, I don't think the cover did them any favors. But if you get past the cover and you just give the music a chance, it's actually pretty good, pretty decent stuff. There's a lot of good chops in here and a lot of good songs. Easy Prey, a good hooky song. I like Shrieks of Terror, Over the Edge, Hawk Mistress, Masters of the Night. So there's some really good stuff to check out here. Really is. Um, Not something you're going to find on Spotify. You can find it on maybe YouTube. You can stream it on YouTube, but you can't. It's only available on vinyl and cassette. Never got a CD release, and if it did, it was probably an unofficial release. But yeah, Brian Slagle has gone on record saying this is probably one of the worst album covers they did. And like I said, if you get past it, you listen to the music, it's actually really good. I like it. All right, last one, and you've heard me talk about these guys before. The Mighty Warlord. This one is And the Cannons of Destruction Have Begun. The video soundtrack. Now, you can find the video soundtrack on this DVD. It's called Book One. So this is a DVD of the video. There is a video that came along with it. Didn't come along with it. You could buy it separately, but um, and it's essentially them in a theater doing a live show. Essentially, is what this was. So very good performance here. Problem with Warlord is they just I don't know, they just couldn't find the right people to stay in the band. Um, the first singer, Jack Rucker, was I really thought he had a good sound for those songs, but heavy metal really just wasn't his thing. And then you get the Damian King #2 on this one, which I'm trying to remember what his name was, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But um, but he does a respectable job on this album. You get a nice bonus song, which was not on the original first album, called Deliver Us, a song called Soliloquy. Wonderful track. Absolutely love that song. Um, Very, very good song, very good performance. Lots of theatrics kind of going on in a couple of the songs, especially Black Mass. Um, you know, Bill Samus, rest in peace. Miss you, brother. Mark Zonder, who drums for the band A to Z, and has done a lot of different drumming projects. Was in Fate's Warning for a number of years. Was on their seminal '90s albums, which are wonderful to go find. Yes, wearing a Fates Warning t-shirt. Fates Warning, another band that is also very, very good. Love those guys. Most of their albums are found on Metal Blade. I just don't have any on vinyl at the moment. But if I did, it would probably be Awaken the Guardian or maybe No Exit. Those are probably my all-time favorite, and I love a lot of their albums. But those songs, those two albums have always been at the top of my list. But um, other bands, Flotsam and Jetsam, they had a few albums on Metal Blade. Their classic debut, Doomsday for the Deceiver. Um, Anvil was on Metal Blade for a little bit. Lizzie Borden, I first heard of them with the Murderous Metal Road Show, which was a double live album. Very good album, by the way. Um, Let me think. Other bands that I would have listened to. Hallows Eve, they were a good band. Detente, Recognize No Authority was originally also on Metal Blade for a while. Sentinel Beast, their album, which their title is escaping me at the moment. I just remember Dogs of War and a really good cover of Phantom of the Opera, a little sped up, but still a really good cover of Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden. Um, Let me think. Other bands that I was listening to on Metal Blade at the time. Tyrants. Can't forget about Tyrants. Yes, their first two albums, I believe, were on Metal Blade. I could be wrong on that. Um, Again, great doom power metal sound. Uh, they had a great album in 2020 called Hereafter. Wonderful album. Kirith Ungol, I mentioned them earlier, with Tim Baker's unique vocal, uh, straight up metal sound. Great band. Um, Let me think. Other 80s metal blade bands I would have listened because that's mostly that was my era. I didn't really listen to much after the getting into the 90s. Banshee released an EP on Metal Blade that was really good. Of course, I mentioned Betsy Bitch. She was she's a lot of fun to listen to. Be My Slave is a very fun album, even though the subject matter is very sexual in nature, but it's still very anthemic and and Betsy's voice is very unique. But they always had a good sound and very good band. And Betsy's still out there. She is still out there. She's looks great. And they sound still pretty good. So worth checking them out. There's countless other bands that I'm sure I'm missing. Um, but good stuff. Metal Blade always just has a good soft spot in my heart because there was so much I just I looked out for those little known bands that weren't getting the notice. So, that they weren't getting the big labels. And those are the bands I wanted to push for. Those were the ones I wanted to see succeed. So so there you go. A little vinyl show and tell on some Metal Blade. Thank you, Pete Pardo, for getting the Hudson Valley Squares guys together and talking about some Metal Blade. Thank you, Brian Slagle, for 42 years of just gosh, I mean, the labels does is doing quite well for themselves. A lot of big name bands on there now. So big respect to Brian Slagle. So anyway, what are some of your Metal Blade fans favorites? Let me know in the comments. Okay. Let me know. Tell me about them and come back soon. We'll see, you're going to see the Year of the Priest. This week we're going to be doing our first impressions of Invincible Shield on the Year of the Priest. So look out for that this coming Wednesday. So thank you all for tuning in for this little impromptu quick video on Metal Blade. We will see you soon. Rock forever. See you on Wednesday with the Year of the Priest. Take care.